After Queen Elizabeth II's death, Prince Charles has been crowned King of England, thus becoming King Charles III. The new monarch has large shoes to fill, and people are waiting to see whether Charles will emerge as a popular ruler in the UK. Here are 15 reasons why King Charles III will be loved by the people. Number 1. He is the King of England. When you look at rank and status, Charles is currently at the top. He is the King of England. As the heir to the throne, Charles has promised not to meddle in political affairs and vows to remain an impartial figure during his reign. There have been a lot of mixed opinions about King Charles III, but at the end of the day, he is the king, and the English love and respect their royals. There is no doubt that Charles too will be loved, no matter how many people don't warm up to the idea of him being the monarch. Number 2. He has been prepping for this role his entire life. King Charles III was ready for this role when it finally came to him at the age of 73. At an age at which most people would have already retired, Charles has taken on perhaps one of the most important jobs there is, ruling a nation. Charles was just 3 when his grandfather, King George VI, died, and his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, ascended the throne. He was proclaimed the prince when he was just 9 years old, making him the longest-serving heir apparent in British history. Matthew Halton of CBC Radio told listeners that he wouldn't be king anytime soon. If his grandfather, the king, and his mother, the princess, both live the full span of life, he may well be 50 or 60 years old before he ascends the throne. With so many years of experience being trained to become king, you can bet he is more than ready to take on this great responsibility. Number 3. His kids turned out great. This is not one but 2 reasons to love King Charles: Prince William and Prince Harry. Are we wrong? Charles might not be a very appreciated and loved royal. Still, he did produce 2 of the most loved princesses in modern history. Yes, we all credit Princess Diana for how the boys turned out, and there's absolutely no denying her role in their growth. However, she was lost too soon, and it was Charles who did the job of raising both the princesses after Diana's death, and the princesses turned out amazing. Number 4. He is a protective father. After the death of Princess Diana in 1997, the princess's father, then Prince Charles, stepped up to ensure that his sons were kept out of the spotlight. Even at the time of Diana's death, the focus of Charles was to give them time to mourn and heal away from the public eye at their estate in Balmoral, Scotland. It was Charles who broke the news to the 2 boys. One of the hardest things for a parent to have to do is tell your children that your other parent has died. How you deal with that, I don't know, says Harry, but he was there for us. He was the one out of the 2 left, and he tried to do his best and to make sure that we were protected and looked after. But he was going through the same grieving process as well. Number 5. He loved his mother. The media and the tabloids have painted a very troubled picture of the relationship between Charles and Elizabeth over the years. Still, from their many outings together, it is evident that Charles loved and deeply respected his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth. Charles has made many controversial choices in his life that Elizabeth absolutely did not agree with, but through the ups and downs, the mother and son duo have maintained their firm bond. As time passed, they have got closer, said royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams once. I think there's no doubt that I think he tremendously admires his mother. I think that there is a strong mutual respect. They also shared common interests like a love for the countryside and a sense of humor. After the death of Elizabeth, Charles gave an emotional speech to the nation in which he thanked his darling mama for her love and devotion. In her life of service, we saw that abiding love of tradition, together with that fearless embrace of progress, which makes us great as nations. The affection, admiration, and respect she inspired became the hallmark of her reign, and as every member of my family can testify, she combined these qualities with warmth, humor, and an unerring ability to always see the best in people. Number 6. He broke the rules for his love. One of the biggest reasons why Charles is not very well liked is his love affair with Camilla Parker Bowles while he was still married to Princess Diana. Diana was the people's princess, and the people found it very hard to forgive and forget the princess's infidelity. Be that as it may, Charles was in love with Camilla even before he married Diana, and it is not easy to let go of a person you love so quickly. And while we would all love to hate on him for that, it is quite commendable that the man was highly committed to Camilla, and they did end up together. He went against his family's wishes and the world and stood by his decision to be with his lady love. Charles's determination to marry Camilla showed that he was a man of commitment, and he did not give up when it was true love. Number 7. He is a philanthropist. Charles is a very charitable man, the longest-waiting heir apparent in British royal history. Charles found his calling in making the world a better place one thing at a time. Charles devotes a lot of time to helping charities for the causes he believes in. In his life, Charles has worked with more than 400 charities, where he was either the president or a major donor. He earned GQ's Man of the Year Lifetime Achievement Award for philanthropy in 2018. Charles even runs a lot of charitable organizations himself and raises more than £100 million or $131 million in annual donations. Number 8. He has a sense of humor. As a public figure, you need to be able to laugh at yourself. Charles has a great sense of humor. The king has even admitted to poking fun at royal traditions on occasion. In a 1996 BBC radio interview, he talked about protests in the wake of his term at the University College of Wales. He said, "As long as I don't get covered too much in egg and tomato, I'll be all right." His ears have often been made fun of, but he takes it in good jest. He once asked his staff what they thought of several busts of him that have been gifted over the years. The staff responded, "Very good likenesses, sir." And Prince Charles replied with a humorous touch of self-deprecation, "Yes, but they always get one thing right, my bloody ears." His ability to take a joke sportingly has earned him loyal followers. You don't want an uptight royal. Number 9. He adores his grandkids. King Charles III is a loving grandfather without a doubt. In the BBC documentary, Prince, Son, and Heir, Charles at 70, William shared that his dad is a doting grandpa to young Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. When Charles was asked about Harry and Meghan's pregnancy, he shared that he was excited for his 4th grandchild, saying he toasted the couple several times upon learning the happy news. He is apparently a very hands-on grandfather and tries to make as much time as possible for his grandkids. William described his father as brilliant when he is around. Camilla revealed he will get down on his knees and crawl about with them for hours, making funny noises and laughing, and my grandchildren adore him, absolutely adore him. She added, "He reads Harry Potter and he can do all the different voices, and I think the children really appreciate that." Number 10. He has been vocal about immigration policy. Charles subtly criticized the controversial new immigration policy from the government of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson that sends all asylum seekers to Rwanda for processing. In his Easter message in April, Charles referred to the utterly tragedy of those who have been forced to flee their country and seek shelter far from home, saying they are in need of a welcome, of rest, and of kindness. In private, he reportedly described the policy as appalling. One unnamed senior cabinet official quoted by the Sunday Times said, "Prince Charles is an adornment to our public life, but that will cease to be charming if he attempts to behave the same way when he is king. That will present serious constitutional issues." Number 11. He loves animals. King Charles III loves animals. There are a lot of photos all over the internet showing the prince cuddling with dogs that his fans bring to his public appearances. He himself owns several, including 2 Jack Russell Terriers, Beth and Bluebell. When his first racehorse, Alabar, died, the king cried as he cradled the horse in his arms. He crashed into the ground. I held his head while life drained out of it. I couldn't bear it because you see the life going out of his eyes, Charles said. It nearly finished me. I've never had that happen. Charles owns an organic farm home to many pigs, sheep, and cattle. Number 12. He served in the British military. You just know that you can trust a man in uniform. Like his father, Prince Philip, and all his ancestors, Charles also proudly served in the Royal Navy. He first completed his training as a jet pilot in the Royal Air Force, and after his official military service ended in 1976, the prince still holds the rank of Air Chief Marshal of the Royal Air Force. He can also still be seen wearing his uniform for important occasions. Charles's service ended in 1976, after which he underwent parachute training and continued to pilot occasionally. In 1995, Charles was promoted to Group Captain for the Royal Air Force. He was eventually granted honorary 5-star rank in all 3 armed forces, becoming a Field Marshal, Admiral of the Fleet, and Marshal of the Royal Air Force in 2012. Number 13. He is a gentleman. Charles is a true gentleman. While he is very outspoken about many issues, you won't find him tweeting nonsense without reason. In fact, he is always smiling, being polite, and opening doors for women. At Meghan and Harry's wedding in 2018, Charles went out of his way to be chivalrous. He truly made Meghan and her mother, Doria Ragland, feel like a part of the family. He chatted with Doria and later led both Doria and his wife Camilla down the steps, linking his arms through theirs. Charles also gallantly walked his new daughter-in-law, Meghan Markle, down the aisle at the royal wedding on the 19th of May 2018 when her own father couldn't be present. Meghan's dad, Thomas Markle, couldn't attend the wedding because of his heart surgery. He suffered a heart attack earlier that week and was left with severe heart damage. So while Meghan's dad couldn't be there on her big day, King Charles III happily stood by Meghan's side and walked her down the aisle in St. George's Chapel to meet her husband-to-be at the altar. Number 14. He is sensitive. Charles had a tough childhood. He was bullied in school and made fun of. He is also not the most popular royal out there. When you think of a king, you usually imagine a strong, influential figure. On the other hand, Charles is sensitive and not as thick-skinned as the royals before him. However, this is just a stereotypical view of perceiving kings as alpha males. Today, this really is quite different. Being sensitive will work to his advantage, as people like someone who can empathize with them and feel for them rather than someone unreachable. Number 15. He is an environmentalist. Climate change is real, and some people just won't accept this fact. In times like these, it is good to know that we have a leader who is very serious about the issue of climate change. Charles is an environmentalist through and through. He has invested much time and money into many movements protecting forests, soil, water, animals, and more. While living a luxurious life, Charles is mindful of the environmental impact. He was gifted an Aston Martin, which burned a lot of fuel. This concerned Charles, and he went to the engineers, who told him that the car could run on white wine or a whey blend, but advised him against actually doing so. I said, well, I won't drive it then. So they got on with it, and now they admit that it runs better and is more powerful on that fuel than it is on petrol, Charles explained. And also, it smells delicious as you're driving along. So the King of the UK drives a vintage Aston Martin that runs on wine. Charles is also an advocate of sustainable living. During a Soil Association event, he announced that the very future of humanity may depend to a very large extent on a mainstream transition to more sustainable farming practices, based, of course, on organic principles. He is also entirely against food waste. It might seem unroyal for a prince to pile leftovers into Tupperware, but Charles hates wasting food. If we made roasted lamb and there were leftovers, we'd probably go and make shepherd's pie the next night, former Royal Chief Carolyn Robb told a biographer. The prince was very economical and very much believed that nothing should go to waste. If there were leftovers, they'd be used one way or another. If not for him, then rehashed and used for a meal the following day. According to his former private secretary, Clive Alderton, Charles would even pack up leftovers from tea time and reuse them until they were over. He wants to provide good quality food to the people, so he established his own company, Duchy Organics, in 1990. All of the monetary profits from the company go to charity. At the COP26 climate conference in Glasgow, Scotland, Charles warned the world leaders that they needed to adopt a warlike footing to deal with the looming threat of climate change and loss of biodiversity. This is the kind of king we can support and stand behind in today's times. Do you like King Charles III? Tell us in the comments. Like and share this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel for more.